Did you know there's one soundtrack that changed the music world forever? One single album, tied to a movie, that didn't just do well, it became the best-selling soundtrack of all time. And here's the crazy part, even though it came out more than 30 years ago, it's still breaking records today. That's right. We're talking about the Bodyguard soundtrack. It's not slowing down, it's not fading away, and the truth is, it probably never will. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever heard a song that hit you so hard, you got chills? The kind of song that makes you stop whatever you're doing, just to soak it all in? That's exactly what happened when Whitney Houston sang, "I Will Always Love You." The first time people heard her sing that song, it was like lightning in a bottle. And from that one song, from that one movie, a whole cultural moment was born. But here's the thing, this wasn't just another soundtrack. This was a phenomenon. And in this little journey we're going on together, we're going to talk about how the Bodyguard soundtrack became unstoppable, the milestones it's still hitting today, and why it continues to capture the hearts of listeners all over the world. Trust me, you're going to want to hear this, because some of the things we're about to uncover will surprise you. Let's go back for a second, all the way to 1992. The Bodyguard movie had just hit theaters. Starring Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston, it had all the drama and romance people wanted to see. And sure, the movie itself became a big deal, but let's be honest. The true star of the show was the music. The soundtrack wasn't just background noise. It was the heartbeat of the story. It was powerful. It was emotional. And when Whitney opened her mouth to sing, people around the world stopped and listened. Now, here's where things really get wild, and I mean really wild. We're not just talking about a soundtrack that did okay at the box office, or one that quietly sat on a shelf after its release. We're talking about a soundtrack that came in, kicked down the doors of the music industry, and completely changed the rules of the game. The Bodyguard soundtrack wasn't just successful, it was revolutionary. It went on to become the best-selling soundtrack in history. Over 45 million copies sold around the world. Just think about that number for a second. 45 million. That's more than the population of entire countries. It's like almost every single person in Spain, or almost everyone in Canada, owning a copy. It's mind-blowing when you stop to really imagine it. And it's not just about the past. We're not just looking at old record sales. This album is still alive and thriving. In today's digital world, where every day thousands of new songs are uploaded to streaming platforms, where competition is fiercer than ever, this soundtrack is still racking up plays. We're talking billions of streams across platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube. Just picture that, songs from a soundtrack released more than 3 decades ago are standing toe-to-toe with brand new hits, songs from artists who weren't even born when Whitney Houston first recorded them. That's not just success. That's immortality. And of course, we can't talk about this album without mentioning the song. You know the one I'm talking about. The one that seems to live forever. I Will Always Love You. It's the crown jewel. The anthem. The moment that defines the entire album. Now here's a fun little twist most people forget, Whitney didn't write it. That song came from the brilliant mind and pen of Dolly Parton. She recorded it back in the 1970s as a tender country ballad. But when Whitney got her hands on it, she transformed it. She didn't just cover the song, she reinvented it. She turned it into something entirely new. Something bigger, more dramatic, more powerful. She poured every ounce of emotion she had into it. Every note felt like it was carved out of her soul. And that's what connected with millions of listeners all over the world. And isn't that exactly what makes music timeless? The way one person can take words, melodies, and emotions, and make them feel personal to you? Like the song was written for your own heartbreak, your own love story, your own memories. That's what Whitney did with that song. Think about it for a second, this is a song you've probably heard more times than you can count. At weddings, where couples choose it for that big slow dance moment. At karaoke nights, where someone inevitably tries to hit those impossible notes. On TV talent shows, where young singers use it to prove their range. Over and over again, across generations, this song keeps reappearing. And no matter how many times people attempt it, Whitney's version remains the gold standard. It's the one everyone measures themselves against. It's the one we all go back to when we want to feel that raw, heart-stopping emotion. That's not just a hit, that's a legacy. So why, after all this time, is this soundtrack still so relevant? Why does it continue to pull people in, even now? The answer is simple, but at the same time, it's kind of magical. First, it's Whitney's voice. There's nothing else like it. Her voice was pure, powerful, emotional. It had this ability to cut through all the noise and land straight in your heart. She could make a lyric sound like it was written just for you. Second, it's the themes of the songs themselves. Love, heartbreak, longing, devotion, these are things that every human being can relate to, no matter where they come from, no matter what generation they're in. The emotions are universal. And third, nostalgia. People who grew up in the 90s remember this movie and this soundtrack like it was yesterday. They're passing it down to their kids. Younger generations, who weren't even alive when it first came out, are discovering it through TikTok videos, YouTube covers, or just stumbling upon it while digging through music history. And when they hear Whitney's voice for the first time, the reaction is the same as it was in 1992, goosebumps. Now here's something most people don't know, and I think you'll find this fascinating. Industry insiders actually credit the Bodyguard soundtrack with changing the way Hollywood views music. Before this album, sure, movie soundtracks were popular. People loved them. But they weren't cultural events. This album flipped that idea on its head. It showed studios that a soundtrack wasn't just something extra to go along with a movie, it could be the centerpiece. It could dominate charts, shape pop culture, and make just as big an impact as the movie itself, maybe even bigger. Without the Bodyguard, we might not have seen the same massive success with other iconic soundtracks that came later. Think about Titanic and how huge My Heart Will Go On became with Celine Dion. Think about Disney soundtracks like Frozen and The Lion King, albums that became global sensations in their own right. That template? It came from the Bodyguard. Whitney and her team set the standard. And here's a little behind-the-scenes nugget you probably haven't heard before. Kevin Costner, who starred alongside Whitney in the film, was actually the one who pushed for her to sing, I Will Always Love You. Imagine that for a second. Imagine if someone else had sung it. Or if they had chosen a different song altogether. The entire history of this soundtrack, and maybe even Whitney's career, could have looked completely different. That one decision shaped music history in ways nobody could have predicted at the time. It's wild to think about, isn't it? When you really step back and think about it, that's what makes this soundtrack so fascinating. It wasn't just about the music itself. It was about timing. It was about the right voices, the right choices, and the right emotions colliding in the perfect moment. And when all of that came together, the result was something timeless. Something that doesn't age. Something that still feels fresh, even after 30 years. That's why we're still talking about it today. And here's the bigger lesson in all of this. Great art doesn't fade. It doesn't get buried by new trends, or pushed aside by the next big thing. True art lives on. It keeps breathing. It keeps finding new ways to connect with people. It doesn't belong to one generation, it belongs to everyone. And that's exactly what's happening here. The Bodyguard soundtrack isn't just music. It's a piece of history. It's proof that when something is powerful enough, it becomes more than just sound. It becomes part of our lives. So let me turn this around and ask you something. What's the one song that never fails to give you chills, no matter how many times you've heard it. You know the one I'm talking about, that song that makes you stop in your tracks. The one that pulls at something deep inside of you every single time. I'd love to hear your answer. Drop it in the comments, because you'd be surprised how many people share the same emotional connection to certain songs. Music has that power to unite us, to remind us that our experiences and our feelings aren't so different after all. And if you've enjoyed taking this trip down memory lane with me, reliving this incredible chapter in music history, then I've got something else you'll love. There's another video on the channel that dives into the untold stories behind Whitney Houston's biggest hits. The behind-the-scenes moments, the decisions, the triumphs, the heartbreaks, it's all there. If you love the magic of music, and you love understanding what makes it last, you'll want to check that out next. Before you head over, though, can I ask for a little favor? If this video brought back memories for you, or gave you a new appreciation for the Bodyguard soundtrack, hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow and lets me know you enjoy this kind of content. And if you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss the next time we celebrate moments like this together. Oh, and share this video with a friend. Because let's be honest, who couldn't use a little Whitney Houston magic in their life? Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I've loved walking through this story with you. And remember this, great music never really fades away. It doesn't matter how much time passes, it doesn't matter how the world changes. Great music finds a way to stay with us. And with Whitney's voice leading the way, the Bodyguard soundtrack will always have a place in our hearts. Always. I'll see you in the next one.